What if I told you that happiness is not something you need to find, not something you need to chase, not even something you need to work for, but something that is already present inside you, waiting for your awareness to land on it? That may sound like a paradox, because so many of us have been conditioned to believe that the fulfillment comes after we achieve something, after we solve something, after we finally fix the chaos in our lives. Yet here's the truth. The very act of trying to chase happiness is the thing that keeps it further away. The harder you run toward it, the faster it seems to move just beyond your reach. Think about it. How often do you tell yourself, "I'll be happy when I get that job, when I meet that partner, when my bank account hits that number, when the world finally slows down"? And yet, as soon as you arrive at that milestone, your mind has already set another target. The cycle repeats endlessly, and fulfillment remains a moving finish line you never quite cross. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill, the tendency for humans to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness regardless of what external gains we achieve. It's the brain's way of keeping you chasing, always searching for the next hit of satisfaction, never quite letting you rest in what is. But here's where we disrupt the pattern. The truth is, happiness is not a future event. Fulfillment is not an achievement unlocked. Both are frequencies, states of being, that you can access here and now. The one thing you can do to be happy and fulfilled, starting in this exact moment, is not about adding anything to your life, but shifting how you relate to what already is. Because reality doesn't just happen outside of you, it reorganizes itself through you, in response to who you're being. This may sound like a lofty spiritual idea, but let's ground it in both psychology and quantum science. In neuroscience, we know that your brain is not a fixed machine. It's plastic, constantly rewiring itself in response to your focus and repeated emotional states. Studies on neuroplasticity have shown that even just practicing gratitude, focusing on what's working instead of what's missing, begins to strengthen pathways of joy and resilience. At the same time, in quantum physics, we have the observer effect. The act of observation collapses probabilities into one experienced reality. What you give your attention to consistently becomes the version of reality you stabilize. In other words, your inner broadcast shapes your outer world. So if you want to feel happy and fulfilled right now, the one thing is actually beautifully simple. You pause, you breathe, you drop from the racing mind into the present, and you choose to embody the frequency of happiness before any condition outside of you changes. Not pretend, not fake, embody. You feel into it, you breathe it in. You allow your nervous system to taste safety and coherence in this exact moment. Because when you do, something profound happens. Your brain waves slow down, your body exits fight or flight, your creativity reactivates, and you realize fulfillment was never out there. It was always here. And notice how life itself responds differently when you shift into that state. Suddenly, the random chaos starts to look like intelligent design. What seemed like an ending reveals itself as a new beginning. Challenges reorganize into invitations. This is the tapestry of life, always weaving itself around who you're becoming, not who you used to be. But let's make this even more vivid. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of a vast field of possibilities, an infinite quantum field. Every version of your life that could exist is alive in that field. Some versions of you are stressed, scattered, unfulfilled. Other versions of you are deeply grounded, joyful, radiant, magnetic. And the bridge between those versions is not waiting years, not accumulating achievements, not winning external battles. The bridge is one simple internal act where you place your focus in what you embody in your being right now. This is not just theory. Research in positive psychology has consistently shown that well-being is not primarily determined by external conditions, but by internal mindset. Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, outlined what he called the PERMA model of well-being: positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishment. What's powerful is that all 5 dimensions are less about external trophies and more about how you orient your awareness, meaning you can access them today without waiting. So the paradox is this: the one thing you can do to feel happy and fulfilled is to stop searching for happiness and fulfillment. Stop waiting. Stop bargaining with reality. Instead, remember that fulfillment is not something that arrives when conditions are perfect. It's what you are when you drop the illusion that anything is missing. Scarcity is forgetting. Abundance is remembering. And in remembering, you free yourself from the endless treadmill of when-then happiness and step into the freedom of here-now happiness. I want you to actually feel this with me. Right here, take one slow, deep breath. Inhale through your nose, let your belly expand, hold for a second and exhale slowly. Feel how your body softens, how your mind quiets even slightly. That right there is coherence. That right there is the nervous system shifting out of scarcity into safety. And from safety, happiness becomes not a chase but a natural presence. It's always been waiting for you under the noise. And here's the deeper truth. When you embody this state, even for moments, reality begins to mirror it back to you. This is the observer effect in action. You broadcast fulfillment, and fulfillment begins to echo in your relationships, in synchronicities, in opportunities. Life organizes around the frequency you hold. This is why trying to control or force outcomes often backfires. But when you surrender into presence, life reorganizes itself for you. The chaos was never random. It was the field creating openings for your next alignment. And this is where the great paradox becomes your liberation. You don't need to wait for the world to hand you permission to feel joy. You don't need every piece of your life to be lined up perfectly like puzzle pieces before you can feel whole. You already are whole. The puzzle was never missing pieces. What was missing was simply your recognition of the wholeness that's always been here. That's why mystics across traditions, from Rumi to modern-day teachers, have said in different words the same truth. What you seek is seeking you, because what you seek is already inside you. The only barrier is the belief that it isn't. So let's talk about that belief system. Most of us were conditioned from childhood to equate happiness with achievement, with approval, with outcomes. If you got good grades, you felt worthy. If you pleased your parents, you felt loved. If you met expectations, you were celebrated. Over time, the nervous system wires itself around this conditional model. I am okay if. I am enough when. I will be happy after. And then adulthood becomes a mirror of this same chase. You upgrade from chasing gold stars to chasing promotions, money, validation, and yet the internal feeling remains just out of reach. This is the false self operating. This is the protective identity that believes happiness is external, but the true self knows otherwise. The true self knows that joy is your natural state when the illusion of lack dissolves. Let's bring in some science again. In studies on the default mode network, the brain system involved in self-referential thinking, researchers have found that when people are caught in constant rumination about the past or anxiety about the future, activity in this network spikes. That activity is strongly correlated with lower well-being. But when people enter flow states, meditation, or even simple mindful presence, the default mode network quiets down, and other brain networks associated with creativity, empathy, and joy become more active. In other words, happiness is not about adding anything new, It's about shifting out of the constant self-story of not enough into the presence of what already is. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need hours of meditation on a mountaintop to access this. You can do it right here, right now. That deep breath you just took a moment ago, that was a reset. The nervous system doesn't need a 5-year plan to feel safe. It just needs coherence in this moment. And the more you practice dropping into coherence, the more your brain rewires toward joy as its natural resting place. This is embodiment. This is the difference between affirming "I am happy" with words and actually embodying happiness as a state of being. Words alone don't collapse reality. Embodiment does. Think about the observer effect again. Imagine your consciousness as the spotlight of awareness. Whatever you illuminate with that spotlight becomes more real, more stable, more present in your experience. If you constantly shine that spotlight on what's missing, on problems, on worries, then that's the reality you collapse again and again. But if you shift the spotlight, if you start noticing what's present, what's beautiful, what's alive, what's already abundant, then your lived reality reorganizes around that. This is not ignoring problems. This is not spiritual bypass. This is participating consciously in reality's design. It's like a tapestry being woven. At ground level, it may look like random threads, chaotic tangles, no meaning. But when you step back, you see a larger design. The interruptions, the disruptions, the detours, they were never mistakes. They were part of the intelligence weaving a larger picture. Endings are not the end. They are beginnings in disguise. Every time something fell apart in your life, wasn't there also a new path that opened because of it? This is why we say disruption is intelligence. Randomness is not chaos. Randomness is a higher order of intelligence, reorganizing the probabilities of your life for alignment. The nervous system feels fear because it doesn't see the bigger tapestry. But your deeper self knows that the field is never against you. It's always guiding you. Let's expand this into the dimensional lens. In 3D consciousness, life is seen as linear cause and effect. Survival dominates. Scarcity rules. You believe you are separate from the field, separate from others, separate from abundance. In this dimension, happiness always seems conditional, always something to chase. But as you awaken into 4D, you begin to notice synchronicities. You question the old scripts. You realize reality is not as solid and fixed as you thought. And then, as you stabilize more in 5D consciousness, you embody unity. You realize you are not apart from the field. You are the field. Life flows through you. Happiness is not something you need to construct. It is the natural frequency of coherence, of unity, of remembering who you truly are. And here's what's so powerful. You don't need to abandon the 3D world. You don't need to escape human life. You integrate it. You can be in the middle of paying bills, working a job, raising kids, building a business, and still access this state of coherence, because dimensionality is fluid. Every breath you take with presence is a bridge from 3D to 5D. Every act of gratitude, every time you pause to notice beauty, every time you choose presence over fear, you are embodying higher frequency in the middle of daily life. And that embodiment changes not only your personal reality, but the collective field. Yes, your individual shift is part of planetary shift. This is not poetic. It is physics. Quantum entanglement shows us that nothing is separate. Your frequency is not contained within your body. It's broadcast into the field. And as you embody coherence, you strengthen coherence in the collective. That's why your happiness is not selfish. It's service. Your fulfillment contributes to the evolution of consciousness itself. When you remember abundance, you help others remember. When you embody joy, you open quantum windows for others to do the same. And so the one thing you can do to be happy and fulfilled is this. Choose to remember. Choose to embody. Choose to drop the false story of lack and step into the truth of abundance. Because you don't create happiness, you uncover it. You don't construct fulfillment, you allow it. It's not somewhere out there waiting to be earned. It's here, waiting to be remembered. Take another breath with me. Inhale deeply, hold it gently, and exhale slowly. Feel into this truth. I don't have to chase happiness. I don't have to fix myself to deserve fulfillment. I am fulfillment remembering itself. I am happiness in this moment, not because of conditions, but because of essence. Let that land in your body, not just your mind. Let it vibrate in your cells. And when doubt arises, as it will, remember the science. Remember the psychology. Remember that the field itself is infinite potential, alive with fluctuations, always reorganizing itself around your frequency. You are not powerless in chaos. You are not waiting for the world to align. You are the alignment. The observer effect is not abstract theory. It's happening right now as you listen. Your attention is collapsing this very moment into the version of reality you will live. So what will you choose to embody? This is where practice comes in, because the mind will forget. The old conditioning will pull you back into the chase. That's okay. Every time you remember, you strengthen the new pathway. That's why I want to give you a simple daily practice, the observer breath. It's as simple as it sounds. One conscious breath where you pause, step back from identification with thoughts, and observe. You remind yourself, I am not the noise, I am the field. I am the witness. And in that one breath, you reset into coherence. The more you repeat this, the more your nervous system learns that safety and happiness are accessible here and now, not later. This is practical mysticism, bringing the highest truths into the simplest daily moments. And as you live this, something else happens. You begin to write a new story about who you are. You stop saying, I am someone chasing happiness. You start saying, I am the embodiment of happiness. You stop identifying as someone lacking. You start identifying as abundance remembering itself. That shift in identity is the deepest anchor, because reality mirrors who you are being. Identity is broadcast, and when you broadcast abundance, the field echoes it back in ways your rational mind could never predict. That's when synchronicities multiply. That's when opportunities arise effortlessly. That's when fulfillment stops being an inner game and becomes an outer reflection. So as we move forward in this conversation, let this sink into your body. Happiness is not a goal. It's your ground. Fulfillment is not an outcome. It's your origin. You don't chase them, you embody them. And when you do, life itself reorganizes to reflect your state of being. And maybe you're noticing something as you listen. Even without changing anything in your external life, something in you is already softening. A deeper part of you is remembering that happiness is not fragile. It's not dependent on the weather of circumstances. It's the climate of your true self. You may still have storms, but the climate underneath is stable. That's what coherence feels like. That's what living as the field feels like. And it becomes more natural the more you practice remembering. But let's explore what often blocks people. Because sometimes when I say you can choose happiness right now, the protective mind resists. It says, no, you don't understand. I can't be happy until this problem is solved. I can't feel fulfilled until I fix my finances, until I heal my relationship, until I find my purpose. And I honor that resistance because it comes from a very human part of us that believes survival depends on controlling circumstances. This is the 3D program running. The nervous system, when stuck in fight or flight, cannot imagine safety in the present moment. It believes safety is always out there, never here. And so we chase. But the irony is that the only way to truly shift circumstances is to shift the state you're in. The nervous system can't solve problems effectively while it's in survival mode. The mind can't access creativity, big picture thinking, or intuition while it's locked in fear. That's why the payoff of choosing happiness now is not just emotional, it's physiological. Studies in psychophysiology have shown that when the heart and brain enter coherence, your system produces more alpha brain waves, your immune function improves, your stress hormones lower, and your intuition sharpens. Happiness isn't just a feel-good concept, it's a biological upgrade. It opens the door to solutions you couldn't see before. This is why some breakthroughs happen when people stop struggling. Have you ever noticed how the answer often comes when you stop forcing it? You wrestle with a problem for hours, nothing works, then you step away. Take a walk, breathe, laugh with a friend, and suddenly the insight drops in. That's quantum tunneling in action. You pass through what felt like a solid barrier, not by force but by frequency. Happiness, fulfillment, coherence. These states open tunnels where logic alone cannot. They let you slip through impossibility into possibility. And we see this in metaphors everywhere. The caterpillar doesn't force itself into becoming a butterfly. It dissolves into chaos, into a kind of cellular breakdown, before reorganizing into flight. What looked like destruction was intelligence reorganizing life. The seed doesn't struggle to break the soil, it surrenders into growth, and the breakthrough happens naturally. In the same way, when you embody happiness and fulfillment now, you're not denying challenges, you're aligning with the intelligence that knows how to transform them. This is why surrender is not weakness. Active surrender is one of the most powerful states you can embody. When you let go of the illusion of control and instead align with coherence, you're not giving up, you're opening up. You're letting the larger intelligence of the field move through you. And that intelligence knows how to weave possibilities your limited mind could never predict. That's why miracles often look like coincidences. They are not accidents. They are coherence expressing itself in the physical world. Let me give you a tangible example. Imagine someone stuck in scarcity, constantly broadcasting fear around money. They believe they'll only feel safe when their income rises, when their debt is gone. But because their nervous system is stuck in fear, they miss opportunities. They repel collaboration. They make decisions from panic instead of creativity. Their frequency broadcasts scarcity, and the field mirrors scarcity. Now imagine that same person shifts, through breath, through embodiment, through practice, into a state of gratitude and fulfillment right now, even before the external conditions change. Suddenly, their nervous system relaxes, their brain opens to new ideas, they feel magnetic, and in that state, they notice opportunities they couldn't see before. They meet people who align. They make bold yet inspired choices. The external world reorganizes because the internal broadcast changed first. This is abundance as identity, not as achievement. And here's where it deepens. When you live this way, you stop identifying with the false self altogether. The false self is always a role, a mask, a protective layer. It says, I am my job, I am my income, I am my mistakes, I am my achievements. But the true self is beyond all of that. The true self is the awareness behind the roles. It's the field of consciousness witnessing experience. When you live from true self, happiness becomes your baseline because you're no longer attaching it to conditions. You are happiness witnessing the play of conditions. That's a fundamental shift in identity. And when you live from that shift, your entire mission in life changes. You stop asking, how can I get? And you start asking, how can I express? Because you realize abundance is not something you extract, it's something you broadcast. Fulfillment is not about acquiring more, it's about expressing who you already are. And ironically, That's when more flows to you because you're no longer resisting the flow of life. You become a conduit for abundance, not a beggar of it. And the more intense your mission, the more intense your upgrades. Mission determines intensity. If you came here with a deep soul purpose, life will shake you harder, disrupt you more fiercely, because the field is preparing you for coherence at a higher scale. That's why some of your biggest challenges were not punishments but initiations. They were refining you, sculpting you, breaking down false identities so the true self could shine through. Every disruption was design. Every breakdown was breakthrough in disguise. The field never abandoned you. It was always guiding you, and if you look back on your life, you'll see it. The moments you thought were endings, weren't they doorways? The times you thought you lost everything, didn't they eventually bring you into more alignment? This is not random. This is quantum intelligence at work. Synchronicities, chance encounters, sudden shifts. These are not coincidences. They are feedback from the field telling you, you're in coherence. Keep going. Trust the design. So what do we do with all of this? How do we bring it from theory into daily life? We practice embodiment. And embodiment is simple. It's not complicated rituals, it's micro actions, daily rituals, moments of coherence woven into your routine. It's the observer breath. It's choosing gratitude when your mind defaults to lack. It's pausing to feel your body when stress pulls you into the future. It's remembering that happiness is your essence, not your reward. And as you live this, your nervous system rewires, your identity shifts, and life itself mirrors your state. So let's practice again right now. Pause with me. Place your attention on your breath. Inhale gently, hold and exhale slowly. As you exhale, imagine releasing the false self, the roles, the masks, the chase. And as you inhale, imagine breathing in your true self, the witness, the field, the abundance. Feel that subtle shift. That's embodiment. That's the one thing you can always do to return to happiness and fulfillment. Remember, breathe, embody. And as you repeat this daily, you start writing a new story. You create a one-sentence identity script that anchors you. Something like, I am abundance remembering itself, or I am coherence embodied, or I am happiness in human form. Choose words that resonate with you. Let them become your anchor. Every time you forget, return to them. Every time scarcity arises, return to them. This is not affirmation for the sake of positive thinking. This is identity embodiment. And identity is the deepest frequency you broadcast. And here's the reassurance. You don't have to get this perfect. You don't have to maintain coherence 24/7. You're human. You'll forget. You'll get triggered. You'll slip back into old patterns. And that's okay. Every time you remember, you strengthen the pathway. Every time you breathe, you reset. The journey is not about perfection, it's about practice, and the practice compounds. Over time, your baseline shifts. Happiness becomes less fragile. Fulfillment becomes less conditional. You become the embodiment of abundance, and life reorganizes accordingly. So as we anchor this part of the conversation, I want you to take this with you. The one thing you can do right now to feel happy and fulfilled is not complicated. It's not out there. It's not in the future. It's here, in this moment, in your breath, in your embodiment. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to earn it. You only need to remember it. Because happiness is not something you find. Fulfillment is not something you achieve. Both are what you already are, waiting for you to remember. And perhaps you're beginning to sense what happens when you embody this truth, not just for yourself, but as a way of living. You start to notice the subtle ways the universe communicates with you. Little synchronicities, like thinking of someone and they suddenly call, or feeling inspired to take a walk at just the right time, and meeting someone who changes the trajectory of your path. Or how, when you soften into presence, solutions show up in forms you could never have predicted. These are not coincidences. These are the signatures of coherence. They are feedback from the field that says, yes, you are aligned, keep going. This is why chasing happiness never works, because the act of chasing broadcasts lack. It says, I don't have it yet, I'm not there yet, I need more. And the field mirrors that lack. But when you embody happiness now, without conditions, you enter into coherence. And coherence multiplies. It attracts coherence in relationships, in opportunities, in your body. You begin to live in flow, where life feels less like pushing and more like being carried by an intelligent current. That current has always been there. You're just finally attuning to it. And when you attune to it, your perception of challenges changes too. You stop labeling them as punishments. You begin to see them as invitations. That difficult coworker, an invitation to embody presence. That financial setback, an invitation to trust abundance beyond numbers. That heartbreak, an invitation to return to the love that you are before any relationship. Every challenge becomes a portal. Every disruption becomes a doorway. And when you embody happiness and fulfillment now, you walk through those doorways with more grace, more clarity, more power. And this brings us into the deeper layers of identity. Because the truth is, most unhappiness doesn't come from what's happening outside of us. It comes from identification with false stories inside of us. The story that we're not enough. The story that we need to prove ourselves. The story that life is against us. These stories are like filters, distorting how we see reality. And the moment you shift out of identification with those stories, reality looks different, even if nothing outside has changed. That's why happiness is an inside-out game. The outer world is just a projection of your inner state. Psychologists have studied this through the lens of cognitive appraisal theory. Two people can experience the same event, but the meaning they give it determines their emotional response. One person loses a job and says, "This is the end. I'm worthless. I'm doomed." Another person loses a job and says, "This is the opening I needed, the chance to start something new." Same event, completely different experience. Which perspective leads to fulfillment? The one aligned with possibility, not fear. And you always have the power to shift that meaning. The observer breath, the pause, the remembering, it gives you back the power to choose meaning consciously instead of unconsciously recycling old stories. And when you shift meaning, you shift reality. Because remember, the observer effect is not passive, it's participatory. Consciousness is not separate from matter. Your attention collapses probability waves into form. That means your meaning-making literally shapes the physical unfolding of your life. This is why your happiness is not just personal, it's creative. It shapes what comes next. You're not waiting for the world to change before you feel fulfilled. You're feeling fulfilled, and the world changes in response. Let's take this further. Think about the physics of superposition. In the quantum field, particles exist in multiple potential states at once until observed. That means multiple versions of your life exist simultaneously in potential. There's a version of you stuck in lack. There's a version of you thriving in abundance. There's a version of you deeply unhappy, and there's a version of you radiantly fulfilled. Which one becomes your lived reality? The one you embody. The one you broadcast. Superposition collapses into actuality based on observation. And observation is not just looking, it's embodying. It's the frequency you hold. And here's the liberation. You don't need to fix every problem in your life to step into the fulfilled version of you. You simply need to embody it first. To live as if. Not in a fake way, but in a real physiological, nervous system way. Because when you embody happiness now, You align with the potential reality where happiness is your natural state, and the field reorganizes around that. That's quantum living. That's 5D consciousness applied in daily life. And I want to pause here and invite you into a direct experience. Place your hand gently on your heart. Close your eyes if you can. Take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, and exhale slowly. As you breathe, imagine a radiant field of emerald green light expanding from your heart. This is coherence. This is your true frequency. Feel into the truth that happiness is not something to achieve. It's what you are right now. Let yourself rest in that frequency. Notice how your body softens. Notice how the noise quiets. This is fulfillment. This is the one thing. This is you remembering. And as you remember, something shifts at the identity level. You stop being the seeker and start being the embodiment. The seeker is always restless, always chasing, always deferring happiness to the next thing. The embodiment is grounded, present, fulfilled now. And from that state, life becomes creative play. You're no longer running after happiness, you're radiating it. You're no longer needing fulfillment from outside, you're expressing fulfillment outward. That's the inversion. That's the quantum shift. That's the end of the chase and the beginning of true freedom. And here's the collective layer. As more of us embody this, the collective field shifts. Imagine millions of people dropping the false story of lack, breathing into coherence, embodying happiness here and now. Imagine what that does to the collective frequency. Wars, scarcity, fear, they are collective decoherence. But every individual who embodies coherence strengthens the field. Your happiness is not just yours, it ripples out. It entangles with others. It creates a resonance that others can feel, often unconsciously. That's why when you're around someone deeply at peace, you feel calmer. When you're around someone radiantly joyful, you feel lighter. Coherence is contagious. Your embodiment is medicine. So what is the one thing you can do right now to be happy and fulfilled? Remember, breathe, embody, over and over, not once, not perfectly, but as a practice, as a lifestyle, as an identity. Every time you forget, return. Every time fear arises, breathe. Every time you chase, pause and remember, happiness is not out there, it's here. Fulfillment is not later, it's now. And the more you live this, the more your life will mirror it back. And if you want a practical anchor, let's create one together. Choose a word that embodies your new state. Maybe it's coherence. Maybe it's abundance. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's love. Whatever resonates, let it be your anchor. Every time you say that word, let your body remember the frequency. Let it be your quantum password into happiness. Write it down, say it aloud, share it with others. This is not just symbolism, it's frequency coding. Words carry vibration. Your anchor word will remind you of the truth when the mind forgets. And if you're listening right now and this message resonates, I want you to participate actively. In the comments, write your anchor word. Maybe it's happiness, maybe it's fulfillment, maybe it's coherence. Let the field see it, let others see it. Because when you declare it, you strengthen it. When you share it, you amplify it. And when we amplify together, the collective field shifts even more. This is how we move from individual awakening to collective evolution. And as we come to the close of this part of the journey, let me reassure you, you are safe to be happy now. You are safe to feel fulfilled now. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to earn joy. It's your essence. It's your identity. It's your true self. And the more you live from that truth, the more life itself will reflect it back in ways beyond your imagination. Happiness is not the prize. Fulfillment is not the finish line. Both are the foundation. Both are who you are. And in remembering that, you step into freedom. And here's the deeper mystery. The field you live in is not indifferent. It's alive, it's responsive, it's intelligent, and at its core, it's love. Beneath the mathematics of quantum mechanics, beneath the fluctuations of probability waves, there is a universal intelligence that organizes reality, and that intelligence is love in action. When you choose happiness now, when you embody fulfillment now, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're aligning with the fundamental intelligence of the universe. You're saying yes to life. You're resonating with love itself. And love has always been the master frequency. Think about it. Every time you felt truly alive, truly fulfilled, hasn't love been present? Whether it was love for a person, love for a passion, love for the moment, it was love that dissolved the illusion of separation. In that moment, you weren't chasing, you weren't lacking, you were whole, you were present. That's because love collapses the illusion of scarcity. Love is abundance embodied. And when you embody happiness now, you are embodying love now, because they are inseparable. Let's return to the psychology for a moment. Studies on well-being consistently show that relationships are the strongest predictor of long-term happiness. But it's not the number of relationships or even their external form. It's the quality of connection. And quality comes from presence, from coherence, from showing up authentically. When you embody happiness, when you live from fulfillment now, you show up differently in relationships. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing people to fill your void. Instead, you meet them from fullness. You radiate. And that radiation strengthens bonds, deepens intimacy, and creates a feedback loop of love. This is why happiness is contagious. It's not just neurons mirroring neurons. It's fields entangling with fields. And this entanglement is not metaphorical. Quantum entanglement shows us that once two particles interact, they remain connected beyond space and time. In the same way, once you interact with someone, your frequencies influence each other. That's why one person's coherence can calm a room. That's why your embodiment of happiness ripples outward far beyond what you see. You're not just shifting your own life, you're shifting the collective entanglement. This is personal awakening as planetary service, and this is where mission comes in. Because you didn't just come here to survive, you came here to embody a frequency that uplifts not only you but others. Your happiness is not small, it's not trivial, it's revolutionary. In a world addicted to fear, to scarcity, to control, one person living from true happiness is a beacon. One person embodying fulfillment now is an anchor for others to remember. That's how collective awakening happens, not through force, but through resonance. Through enough individuals remembering who they are until the field tips into coherence. And this is why your happiness matters. This is why your fulfillment matters. Not just because it feels good, but because it's your mission. It's your contribution to evolution. When you embody happiness now, you're accelerating the collective shift. You're stabilizing coherence in the field. You're helping humanity move from separation consciousness into unity consciousness. That is no small thing. That is the work of a lifetime, and you can do it breath by breath. And yes, the world may still look chaotic. Yes, the news may still broadcast fear. Yes, old systems may still crumble. But remember, disruption is intelligence. The chaos you see is not the end, it's reorganization. It's the field dissolving what no longer serves to make space for what's emerging. And your role is not to control the chaos, but to embody coherence within it. Your nervous system is the tuning fork. Your coherence stabilizes the field around you. And the more you embody it, the more the world reorganizes. That's the paradox. You change the world not by fixing it, but by embodying the frequency of the world you wish to see. So let's get practical again. What are simple tools you can use every day to embody happiness and fulfillment? The first we've already practiced, the observer breath. One conscious breath to reset into presence. to remember you are not the noise but the field. The second is gratitude, not as a checklist, but as a felt experience. Each day, pause and feel gratitude, not just for big things, but for simple ones. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the taste of water, the presence of a friend. Gratitude rewires the brain toward abundance. It shifts focus from what's missing to what's here. And what you focus on, you stabilize. The third tool is embodiment through micro-actions. Instead of waiting for life to give you permission, live as the fulfilled version of you now. If the fulfilled version of you walks with more presence, walk that way today. If the fulfilled version of you speaks with more love, speak that way today. If the fulfilled version of you creates, share, or serves, begin now in small ways. These micro-actions broadcast the frequency of fulfillment. They collapse the superposition into the version of you that already is fulfilled. They bridge potential into reality. And the fourth tool is identity scripting. Choose your anchor word or phrase and repeat it daily, not just mentally but emotionally, physiologically. Say, I am abundance remembering itself. Say, I am coherence embodied. Say, I am happiness here and now. And as you say it, feel it, embody it. Let your nervous system register it as truth. Because identity is the deepest broadcast. You are not affirming to convince yourself, you are embodying to remind yourself. And over time, these simple practices shift your baseline. You move from chasing to embodying, from lack to abundance, from fear to coherence. And as your baseline shifts, reality mirrors it back. Synchronicities increase, flow deepens, relationships harmonize, opportunities align. The outer world becomes a reflection of your inner state. This is not magic in the fantasy sense. It's physics, it's psychology, it's quantum mechanics meeting human embodiment. So if you take nothing else from this conversation, take this. Happiness is not a prize. Fulfillment is not a finish line. They are your essence. They are your identity. They are the frequency you already are. The one thing you can do right now in this exact moment is to remember that truth, breathe into it, and embody it. And as you do, life itself reorganizes in response. And as we close, I want to invite you into one final activation. Place your hand on your heart again. Take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and whisper to yourself, I am safe to be happy now. I am safe to feel fulfilled now. I don't need to wait. I don't need to chase. I am abundance. I am coherence. I am fulfillment remembering itself. Let that become your truth. Let that become your broadcast. And if you feel it, declare it. Share your anchor word in the comments. Write it, embody it, amplify it. Because together we strengthen the field. Together we co-create a world of coherence, a world of abundance, a world of happiness not deferred but embodied here and now. And as always, if this message resonates, subscribe and stay aligned with this frequency. Because every time you return, you strengthen the remembrance, you deepen the embodiment, and together we rise.